The Sine Institute of Policy and Politics is American University's incubator for policy innovation. We convene leaders in the academic, public, private, nonprofit, and journalism sectors to engage and promote common ground and nonpartisan solutions. In an evolving world, we seize the opportunity to work on the nation's most pressing challenges through collaboration by experts and top scholars in their field with students in research and scholarship. As part of that goal, the Sine Institute leverages American University's location in our nation's capital, the nexus of government and a growing international business center. We connect diverse perspectives from around the country and around the world with our world-class academics and research, experienced practitioners, and the most politically active student body in the U.S. We stand apart through our focus on the role of business and the nonprofit community in public policy, the rise of the importance of economic regions in the United States, and international policy issues. Our focus is to make an immediate impact at the intersection of policy and politics that leads to real and lasting change. Thank you for joining us as we convene, communicate, and collaborate. And now, Sine Institute 2023 Fellow Anna Deavere Smith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Amy Dacey. I'm the Executive Director here at the Sine Institute. I want to thank you all for coming today for the second seminar from our prestigious Sine Fellow, Anna Deavere Smith. And she is going to be leading our conversation today. But this one is special because today's seminar is in partnership with the AU Theater and Musical AU Theater and Musical Theater Program and the Arts Management Program and the AU Department of the Performing Arts. So we are so grateful that they want to partner with us, such a strong program here at AU, and we want to make sure our students are benefiting from that. So here today to introduce our fellow is one of our partners, Andrew Taylor. Andrew is an associate professor of arts management here at American University. He also consults for cultural, educational, and support organizations throughout North America. Andrew is past president of the Association of Arts Administration Educators. He is board member for Fractured Atlas, consulting editor for the Journal of Arts Management, Law, and Society, and co-editor of Artabate, a journal on arts entrepreneurship. We are so grateful to have you here, and why don't you come and help us introduce our fellow today?
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon. Hello. It's a great honor to be co-hosting this with the Sine Fellowship Initiative, and my colleague from musical theater is here as well. And this just seemed like an opportunity that was too great to pass up, to have Ms. Smith here with us. I'm going to read this because her accomplishments, as you can imagine, are quite
even short
extensive.
So she could have.
That's right. I'm not off book yet, but I'm working on it. So Anna Deavere Smith is a playwright and actress. She's credited with having created a new form of theater through plays which focus on contemporary issues from multiple points of view or composed of excerpts of hundreds of interviews. Plays and films based on them include Fires in the Mirror and Twilight Los Angeles, Let Me Down Easy, and Notes from the Field, About the School to Prison Pipeline. Her work as an actress on television includes Inventing Anna, The West Wing, Nurse Jackie, Blackish. Mainstream movies include Philadelphia, The American President, Rachel Getting Married, and Billy Crystal's new movie Here Today. President Obama awarded Smith the National Endowment for the Humanities Medal. She's the recipient of the MacArthur Fellowship, several Obie Awards, a Drama Desk Award, and the George Polk Career Award in Journalism, and the Dean's Medal from Stanford University School of Medicine. She was a runner-up for the Pulitzer Prize and nominated for 2 Tony Awards. She's a professor at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. She has several honorary doctorate degrees, including those from Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Spelman College, and Juilliard and Oxford. Anna, welcome to American University. Glad to have you here.
You know, this is people here. Raise your hand if you have anything to do with the theater. I know you do. I know you do. So a lot of you. So you know that it's highly unlikely that I'm going to go up there. So what we're going to do today is participation with all of you. How many of you were able to tune in to what I did on Zoom about 3 weeks ago? Great. Okay, great, good. And I would normally go around and get everybody's name, but I'm not going to do that because we have a lot to do today. And you will be able to get everybody's name, or at least in your group, in what you do. So This is all going to be active participation from everybody. But for those of you who were involved in the session I did, my interest is in trying to think about goodwill. How in a time of so much division, some of it for good reason, some of it not, how in environments like this, universities or in arts collaborations, how we can have environments of goodwill and how we can have something that I call the benefit of the doubt. And I think that the first thing that is critical for that is listening. And so I'm going to be giving you an exercise that you're all going to do that has to do with listening. And so the first thing I want you to do is to count off up to 10. So Amy, are you going to participate? Probably not.
I am.
You are?
I'm taking
Okay.
advantage of you.
All right. So we're going to go around and count, I think, actually to 12 and see what happens. So just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then start again, starting with Amy. And we'll go around and then we'll go around the outer run. Okay?
1, 2, 3, 4,
5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1,
2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
12,
1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8, 9,
10,
11, 12,
1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Great. Could I have all of the ones over here? Everybody who's a 1, hope you remember your number. All the ones over here.
Yeah.
Ones over here. Got all the ones?
Yeah.
Right. All the 2s over here. Okay, stick with your group. All the 3s here. Okay, 4s here. Stick with your group because we you'll see why it can't be too cluttered. 5s here. 6 is here. Okay, why don't we do the 7s right here?
It's a stay tight.
Sevens, Brown and please.
No, we're just. Featured in.
8's here, 8's here. 8, 8, 8, 8, 9 here, 9's here. Sorry.
Read something good.
9's here.
Yeah, but like.
I think have profit.
Exactly.
But change.
10's over by the door here. Thank you. Now you get 11's over here by this, I guess it's like a camera.
Yeah.
And lastly, 12's over in the corner. All right, now, I'm going to teach you my secret sauce for listening. And it's actually the secret sauce of all the work that I do. So once I tell you what to do, what I'd like every group to do is go somewhere in these hallways and find a space to be with each other. That group looks so much bigger than the other groups, but I guess it's a group of 5, right? Something like that. All right, so, and your group's only 3.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. That's very, very good. So basically, most of you are sort of groups of 4, is that right? Groups of 4. Oh, this is excellent. All right, good. So I'm going to give two different questions, and I'll assign them to different groups. And I'm going to have you in your group, once you get settled, answer the question. And in answering the question, you'll each be telling each other stories. And then very quickly, you pick one story to be told in here and one person to tell the story. The key to this is you have to move quickly. This should not be, those of you who do theater know, this is not a thing where we don't talk about something. Our talking has to do with an action, right? So as soon as you go through the stories, immediately say, ask who would like to have their story told. And then ask who would like to tell the story. And that's all you need to know. And then when we come back, the teller will tell the other person's story. Now, when you listen, here's the real secret sauce. When you listen to the story, listen for the rhythm in which a person speaks. That's the most important thing. The person who tells the story has to know that basically I'm a good listener. Don't be the one to tell the story if you know you're not a good listener. The group needs a good listener to be the teller. We think we need a good teller to be the teller. We actually need a good listener to be the teller. I just came from a big, long meeting and I was amazed. We picked people to report on our groups of how much people who chose to be the ones to speak for the group actually didn't listen very well. So you want your teller to be first and foremost a listener. Okay, so I'm going to give you the questions. So groups 1, 3, 5, and 7. The question that I want your group to answer one by one, everybody in the group to answer the question is, do you know the circumstances of your birth? So raise your hand if I named your group. Do you know the circumstances of your birth? All of the other groups are going to go around and answer the question, have you ever been accused of something that you did not do? Right. Okay. So raise your hand if you're doing birth, if your group is doing birth. Raise your hand if your group is doing ever did something you didn't do. Okay, great. Disperse, come back. This is how fast it has to go. Wait a minute, you guys, listen. Come back in the room with your teller, ready to go in 10 minutes sharp. Go. And if you don't have a group, stay here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Have you not been?
I
Just got here.
during the beginning of my first semester here, we did a fire drill and it ended up from my side of the building, we are being very quiet and I ended up sleeping through most of it and then get out about right when it ended and then the staff in charge of the front desk fire alarm, how I'd actually slept through it and then gotten downstairs right as the alarm started.
Hospital, on April 10th, we get in trouble for 4 p.m. because you didn't get downstairs fast enough. Is that
Yes.
the basic just and I know there were some med students.
This is last semester, yeah.
Yeah, but that's like med students and pharmacists. This is what my birth. Like 6 of them.
Front desk supervisor.
That's it.
Hi, I'm Jean.
Jean Lauren.
Graham. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
I'm reading 13.
So I also like to think that. Because I was. And I was. Oh. Academic office. It's like there's something.
No much. This is, I was born.
Really annoying.
February 17th,
I was filing something for my coworker.
and that is Wisconsin.
My coworker was like. That's no, you didn't.
Also the University of Austin.
I'm fine, thank you.
Realizing at this moment in my life,
So this
that's
about me?
all I know. I think I was fast. I think my brother was, my older brother.
My
And I was slow. And as a become my pattern as the younger, better behaved brother, I was obediently quick, really bored. Let's try to make it a little. I started off trying to make it.
And working in industry.
Working, yeah.
I was born in New Jersey. This was awesome. 1964. So around the same time the Beatles came in.
I did too.
And I was born, I think, at around 10. Was pretty. I was the fourth of 4 children. The Marine boy. And that's pretty much all I know about the specifics. What I think perhaps it's not about the birth, it's pretty close. I'm Jewish. 7 days later, I was in a student ceremony for bris, all captured on camera. So we still have my youngest sister, this is nice to see you, Cindy, had a front row seat at my bris, and that's all been captured on camera. It was very lovely. So I don't remember any of it, and that's a great thing. That's a good thing.
And she would always accuse me of having. You would tell me of like.
5 more minutes to wrap it up.
She would. I'm fine with accusing me of only liking stuff. I'm also.
We find the color.
That was me, but I'm all the time.
As I would.
I could. Anybody was. Yes. Yes. Okay. Let's recap. So. And I guess you get.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. University. Yes. And I was born a day after. May 1965, if you want to remember that names. I was born early, about 3 weeks early, and this
And I'm sorry. It's consuming my brain.
So.
Anybody have a story? Like we should focus on.
So we're supposed to, share the story of the circumstances of our birth, and then, I'm going to retell her birth story. And the most important.
Well, yeah.
Pick a story that's about 3 minutes long. Pick a story that's about 3 minutes long.
There are 5 people. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think the students are supposed to be, I think the sibling story is with everybody and this. Yes, I have no background in theater, so I don't know.
I like your story the best.
But if so, my.
Yes,
To make this a few story, we need to.
Oh, yeah.
Parts I remember, you and your sister.
And so this one, because she couldn't find it. Right, she couldn't find it, like, and so like, she was managed.
I'm much better at Oh, my son. Sam Sherman. And I met your dad. Met your dad in Oregon.
And so.
Oh, Sam Sherman. would get like, University of North Carolina School.
So my sister and I would play it sometimes, and so so the old boxes, upending boxes and stuff. And then when I slept.
Great, and here you're finding it all out here.
Many years.
And then I had like fallen under her bed at one point to look for it, and it had fallen behind like stacks of books she had. And I found it, and I gave it to her, and she like apologized. Thank you.
Your dad was in law school when you were.
So no. She found it. That's great. Oh, you're so. I know why the moment started. That's a good thing too. Then I saw that kind of like vindication and agree. Unlike when my parents were through. Be another someone.
You were. That's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I knew you were coming.
That's okay.
So my.
How long is your?
I'm gonna arrange how you see.
Gonna arrange this. So I don't
Let us gather with Justice Stevens. Okay, could I have all of the tellers of the stories about birth sitting on these first 6 seats here? And could I have all the tellers of the stories of accused of something you didn't do in these first 6 seats here? Thank you. Somebody lost their book.
Oh, that's me.
All right. Look, the tellers in these first 6 seats, I'm gonna actually. All the tellers. And the first 6 seats here, all the tellers of the birth. Okay, great. I'm amazed, you guys are really very obedient. Yeah, are you a teller? Yes, you're a teller. Which story did you? Something you didn't do? I don't. You're here. All right, what about those? Can we fill those? Is anybody sitting here? Nobody? So everybody, raise your hand if you're doing birth. That's it, and accused. Okay. How did we end up with so many accused? Okay. So we're gonna start, let's start with the birth stories. We'll do them one right after the other. Now, you use the pronoun I.
You won't tell us whose story it is yet. We'll learn that after. You know what I mean? So it's not, well, his mother was in the middle of playing golf and all of a sudden her water broke. My mother was in the middle of playing golf and all of a sudden, so those of us who are actors know what we're basically the great imposters who steal the pronoun I. So you start with the pronoun I. So you want to start? There's a law, a rule in any environment I'm in. No applause. Why is that? Because we're not putting on a show. We are investigating something about human beingness. And in a way, it's a lab. And how many labs of science have you been in where people applaud every time they see something under the microscope? They don't. Okay, so we don't applaud. Well, we have applause at the very end. But tell me, well, I won't want to know your name because you're going to be an imposter. Using the pronoun I, go right up. Go right on.
Well, I was born early by about 2 weeks. I was the third child. And my parents were expecting me, but somehow they weren't expecting the situation to be born early. I was supposed to be an April baby, but I ended up being a March baby. And after I was born, it was a C-section. My mother was on bed rest for weeks, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it was because I was a C-section. I don't know all of the circumstances of my birth. Like I said, as the third child, as expected, but somehow they didn't expect me to come 2 weeks early. This is a story from 21 years ago today.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, okay, all right, so good. Let's see the next one.
I was born on May 13, 1965 at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Both of my parents were students there. They met in undergrad, and I was born the day after my mother submitted her master's thesis, which I like to say that I have a master's too, because I was there for all of it. I was born 3 weeks early, and I also like to say that that is the last time that I have ever been early in my life. My father was a law student at Villanova. I think that's it.
Right.
Mine's not very interesting. I was born in Southwest Florida, on an island named Sanibel, and my mom went into labor in the middle of the night, and my dad was at work. So she called a friend of the family, and she had to drive an hour and a half to get to the hospital, or maybe an hour because it was the middle of the night. Where was my dad? He was working at a resort on the next island over, Captiva. Yeah, he had a little show. It was like called Chasing the Hermit Crabs, and there were like these little hermit crabs. And it was like a comedy show. I was born at 7:30 in the morning or 7:30 at night. I don't put that in. And 10 pounds flat with a shock of red hair.
My parents are very atypical in that their love story is also very atypical. So the two of them got married not for like romance or love or your typical things. They got married because they were both in the army in their 20s. And they just really wanted to be stationed in the same spot because they were such good platonic friends. And for years, they were just platonic and they just wanted to hang out a lot. They got married for not just taxes, but so they could be stationed in the same base in their Army career. Eventually, this platonic relationship turned romantic. And about 4 or 5 years into their marriage, I was born. And I was born in Germany, not in a military base, but we actually snuck out outside the military base to have me so that I could have dual citizenship. So almost every part of my life and my parents' life has been strategy.
Great, and so those are our birth stories? Cool, all right. Accused.
So I'm someone who does not like to be accused of things that I have not done. But the one story that really comes to mind is my sister and I. I have a younger sister. We're 5 years age difference, and if you can imagine me at 10 and her at 5. She was very annoying, and I was very upset at how many times she accused me of things that I never did, but she chose to accuse me anyway. Often her fault. One of the most memorable ones is she had these stuffed animals, dolls, and toys that she loved to play with. They were always all over the house, everywhere. But they occasionally go missing, of course, because she had so many, so easy to lose, can't keep track of them. I always tell her that. Anyway, so I would get accused about this one specific toy that would constantly, I guess, disappear, but often it was simply her, losing it behind her bed or leaving it underneath, another type of furniture. And come to think of it, okay, sometimes I did take the toy, I do admit that, just to kind of mess with her, but it was like just once or twice. So it wasn't something like I did all the time. So yeah, okay, there's that. But anyway, this one time she accused me of it, and she was running late to school, and the school bus would come right in front of our house. Was a bus stop that was just at the end of the driveway. It's just my mom, my dad, my sister, and I. But I would sometimes, go early to the bus stop to sit with her. And other people would normally say, yes, it's very nice and stuff. But I just did it kind of out of spite because she had to get up so early, and I just thought it was really funny. So I'd actually wake up just to make fun of her, to go to the bus stop and just make fun of her while she's waiting at the bus stop at like 7:30. And I didn't have to go to school till like 8:30. So it was great. But anyway, so this one time she accused me of stealing one of her toys. And of course, I went to her room. They knew exactly what had happened. It had fallen behind her bed, and it was behind a stack of books. There it was. I grabbed it and I gave it to her, and she said, thank you. And I really appreciated that because, she's my little sister. It's kind of annoying. So I walked her through to the end of the school bus, and I waited just until she got on the edge of the bus to say, you're welcome. And my mom and dad pointed out that that wasn't the right attitude. I should just have been grateful. She just should have been grateful, and I should just left it at, it was a nice thing to do to get the toy for her, and not sort of like fictively like rub in her face that I knew where it was. And so I actually feel like I also learned a lesson from my parents that day.
Oh.
From East Lansing. I was 8 years old. I was playing t-ball with a friend of mine, with a tennis ball. And he hit it, wasn't really looking at where it was going, broke the glass in the garage door. And my dad came home, and he was in a red Charger, and I was cleaning up the glass. And so he came home and saw me cleaning up the glass, and he thought I did it, and I took the blame. I took the blame for it. And then later, my friend was like around the side of the garage. And later I was talking to my dad, and he said, did you do it? And I said, he did it. But he was proud of me. He was proud of me for taking the blame and not blaming my friend.
Okay, so this is a story about when I was in 4th grade, and it's so traumatic that I can never forget it, even though it seems pretty like not a big deal. But I was a really big goody two shoes in elementary school. I never got in trouble. All my teachers liked me, but I was in the lunch line one day, and the lunch lady who was watching over the line pulled me out and accused me of cutting and shoving the person in front of me in line. And I was like, I did not do that. And she was like, yes, you did. And I was like, no, I didn't. And then the lunch lady pulled her glasses over her face to the tip of her nose, and she was like, you see these? I got these so that I can see, stuff like that. And I was so upset that I was just crying, and she wrote me up for it, which made things even worse. And I was crying even harder. And what made it even worse is that I had to sign the paper saying that I knew that I cut in front of someone and shoved them, even though I knew that I didn't. And I refused to sign the paper. So the whole 30 minutes lunch, I sat at the table right beside my friends who I was accused of cutting in front of and shoving, and cried and didn't eat my food. And finally, my teacher came in to get everyone for lunch, and she saw me crying and was like very confused of what was going on because I was never in trouble. And she convinced me to sign the paper just so I could go back to class. And then later that night, my friend's mom, who was also a lunch lady, called to check on me because she knew that that's not actually what happened. And yeah, I don't know who the lunch lady is now, but I hope she's doing really bad.
I'll preface this story that it's a little bit more intense than the ones that were just said. So my story begins with my marriage to my now ex-husband. We were together, and then things took a turn, and we were about to split. We also had a 2-year-old son at the time. I didn't know that one day he had taken him to the magistrate's office, to the courthouse, to file a protection order against me, so that I would be separated from my son. He dropped my son back at my place during dinner, and then later that evening, I got a knock on the door from the police, and they wanted to remove me from the premises and remove my son away from me as well. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, I was able to reduce the amount of time that it took for the judge to hear a case because of the friends I had and the connections I had from the church who also worked in the local courthouse. So I was able to just push it to 4 weeks. And the judge heard my case, and knowing that it was more my ex-husband now trying to get retribution for the way our relationship was going, he dismissed the case, and I was able to get custody of my son.
When I was like a bit younger, my mom had left a bit of money, a roll of money down the stairs, and she was just doing some laundry before leaving, and I was in the living room. It's a 2-story house, basically, the one I lived in when I was younger. And we were a big family of 4. Well, I have 4 siblings, and my mom came back down after doing laundry and said, "Did you take my money?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And she didn't believe me, because then she asked me if I'd seen anyone come in or anything, and I hadn't. So she called the entire family down, my 4 siblings, and was kind of scolding us like, "Where is this money? Did someone take it?" And then no one had taken it, and we were so confused. So we all walked around the house and tried to look for it and couldn't find it until we saw my dog with a roll of money in his mouth. And my mom apologized. Actually, we just taught him to fetch, so he just picked it up.
So I used to race mountain bikes in high school, and back in freshman or sophomore year, I was doing a race and I lived in Arizona. at the time, and it was like a 15-mile race. So by the end of it, it was hot, it was dusty, and everyone was kind of pissed off that they even had to be there anymore. But I was just about to finish up the race, and I had like a really narrow pass with another biker, this girl I like sort of knew, and I ended up getting in front of her and winning. But later I found out that she accused me of elbowing her to win, but it was pretty much tossed away because everyone believed me because I'm not someone to elbow people.
I'm a teacher, so my students accuse me of a lot of things. I'm not going to talk about those. I was in a relationship for a long time with someone who didn't treat me well. And one day my sister was supposed to go to a movie with a number of friends, my younger sister, and the friends bailed on her, they canceled on her, and she was so upset. And she asked me if I would go to the movie with her. And I said that I would. And we went to the mall to the movie. But first I called my boyfriend at the time and told him that I know we had dinner reservations, we had plans for dinner. Could we just do it a little bit later? Because my sister needed me to go to this movie with her. And then later, after the movie, my boyfriend told me that he knew that I was lying and that I had cheated on him. And he was so accusatory about this that I even took the ticket stub out of my pocket and showed it to him. That's how seriously he was taking it. And he said, oh, well, you could have just gone to the movie theater and bought that ticket just so you'd have it as an excuse. And he told me, right, like that's normal. And he told me that, do you know the restaurant, the Spaghetti Factory? It's in California where I'm from. He told me that he had reservations to the Spaghetti Factory, which is why he was so upset that I tried to move everything back. But you don't need reservations for the Spaghetti Factory. That was just a thing he was saying to try to make me feel bad. The movie was Twilight.
So I was in middle school and my parents cared quite a lot about grades. It was a very, very big deal to them. It was like the main thing they cared about. And one day my principal pulls me aside and he shows me the signature back then. Any test I got back had to be signed by my parents to prove that they had seen it. He accused me of signing my own signature so my parents have to see it. I mean, it was a pretty bad grade, to be fair. And I was so upset, I was crying, all the normal stuff. And I was so upset, but to be fair, I had done it before.
Is that it? Yeah. All right, round of applause. Find out about some of the real people. So who was the March baby? And who was the early baby the last time I've ever been early? And who South Florida baby? And whose parents use strategy for everything? Germany baby, right? Okay, who was the story of the toy? The T-ball? Cafeteria line? The dog took the money? Mountain bikes? and Spaghetti Factory. And there's one more after that, which was you.
Yeah. Okay.
You told your own story?
That's what we wanted.
Okay, so now, without thinking too much, just shout out some of the images, other than the things I wrote, some of the images that you remember from any of these stories. Any images? Huh?
Redheaded baby.
The redheaded baby. Oh, it was like a shock of red hair. A shock of red hair. Other images that you remember.
The dog with the money.
Well, the dog with the money. Yeah, okay. Anything else? Twilight. Well, that's very famous.
Broken window.
Say that again?
Broken glass.
Broken glass, broken glass. What else? Behind the books. Bus stop at the corner. The report card. But what, was there an actual image about that? I mean, I remember signature is what at least stuck out for me, the signature. Any other images?
Crying at a table.
Crying at a table.
Crying at a table.
A mean lunch lady with her glasses like that.
Calling the spaghetti factory.
Ticket from the pocket.
Red charger.
The red charger.
Throwing elbows.
Oh, yeah. Elbow.
Yeah, the narrowing path.
Narrowing path.
I was envisioning the German couple sneaking out.
Okay, this one's harder. Can you remember any exchange of dialogue? Any back and forth of dialogue in any story?
Siblings and being accused of stealing the money and then them saying no.
But actual dialogue, don't summarize it. Can you remember
Thank
any dialogue at all?
Thank you.
You made a reservation for the spaghetti patch.
I got these so I can see things like this.
Yes.
How about the one where the siblings and the toy fell behind the bed? It's kind of dialogue between the
You
siblings.
remember that dialogue exactly though?
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Who said, no, I did, no, I did, no, you didn't. Yes, you did, no, I didn't. I
That
wrote
was
it
the
down.
lunch lady.
Yes, you did, no, I didn't. That's the lunch lady story. Okay, so why is this the secret sauce of listening? You can experiment with this. Listening, first of all, is absolutely critical in Goodwill. Because I think when things fall apart, it's in part because we're not listening or we hear, but we're not listening. What's the difference between hearing and listening?
Hearing, you're waiting for your turn to speak. You're waiting for someone to end their sentence so you can start speaking and bring the attention to you.
But that's hardly even hearing, that's just waiting. But what would you say is the difference between hearing and listening? Yes.
You're waiting to hear what confirms your preconceived notions instead of being able to choose for something that might be new.
I mean, these are all semantics, but I mean, because you could be, imagine if somebody's in a debate and the stakes are high, you're listening very well for what you can pounce on, right? Or certainly in courts of law. What would you say is the difference?
Hearing is there's noises going into your head.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember as a kid, my mom saying, yes, I know you heard me, but do you understand me? And I think that difference between just hearing what she said versus processing it and understanding it is more to the listening, that you're actually processing some of it.
Man, it's a really good idea. How many of you feel that when you are listening and hearing, you're actually processing? Kind of, sometimes. When you don't process, what do you think is in the way of that?
Ego.
No, well, that's a general, I mean, really,
Daydreaming.
you know, think about your own, really yourself, you know, when you realize you've missed something, that you didn't hear it, that you couldn't take it in, that you didn't process it. What do you think?
Stress.
stress. I'll give you an example in my classes that I teach a performance. When I give a critique at this point, it's been the case for a long time now. Everybody in the class, the first day of class, is assigned the person who's going to take notes when I give a critique. Why do you think I don't trust the student to hear the critique? Huh? Well, first of all, they're usually listening for something that they may not hear, like, was it good?
Yeah.
So that by the end of the critique, they say, well, didn't I do anything right? And in fact, they miss the whole structure of what should be going on, which is an engagement between them and me in that case. Or, think of the people who, they have maybe no confidence, right? Because they can't hear the good things. They can't process the good things that are coming towards them, or the opposite, the people who are overly confident because they can't seem to take in the thing that they can't take in. Or the end of Carmen, I saw Carmen for the whatever number of time on, how many of you know the opera Carmen? This incredibly excruciating long last scene where one lover keeps saying, you mean, but you don't love me anymore? And it's like, 20 minutes, this woman has been saying, I don't love you anymore, right? I mean, and so we all have those events in our lives too, where it's like, you mean it's over? It's over, or you mean you really want to marry me? So we're made up as human beings naturally in a way that, to use your word, we have a difficulty processing. I don't know why, but I feel that if we're committed to goodwill, or we're committed to, especially now, and I feel in a place like American University, to try to come up with some strategies where not everybody, but at least some people can listen to the other side. I mean, the school where I taught for 10 years is in the news, Stanford University, because of what happened when a judge that was not popular came, and the protests, and we have I'm sure something like that's happened here at American University, where there are certain speakers you don't want to hear, but we know we can't really proceed that way, especially in environments that's supposed to be environments of exchanges of idea. What does it cost you? I mean, I don't really know. I'm asking you things that I don't know the answer to. This is not a moral class. It's something I really want to know and understand. What does it cost you to process something that you don't agree with? Yes.
The possibility that you are wrong.
Possibility you're wrong. What else?
It can re-trigger trauma.
It could re-trigger trauma.
Sense of security.
Huh?
Your sense of security.
Sense of security. I mean, many of you are going to go into, international relations, right? And you're going to have to be able to, how are you working with yourselves about how you're going to process something that's difficult to hear? Or, I'll tell you what's happening in the arts right now is that, say, the work that I do, a lot of the work that I do has to do with trauma, has to do with race in America, has to do with riots. A lot of my work has to do with violence. The opera of mine that just opened on Friday is about gun violence among gangs in Chicago. And one story is a story of a woman who was driving to the laundromat, and it's a famous story in Chicago. It just happened during COVID. Her 20-month-old was in the back, and someone started shooting at her car and shot her in the head and killed her baby. And for the singer to process that and sing that was no small thing. And even for people to hear it. So in the arts, we're often in a position where we have to be able to take something in and usually make beauty out of it or cause a conversation out of it. How are you going to prepare yourselves for this processing? And how are you? You're shaking your head. How are you processing? How are you preparing yourself to process things in the world that you don't like, that you disagree with, may cause trauma, but you're all going to be leaders. And you're gonna have to be able to process. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna develop your muscles for this processing?
You have to be open to just listening to people and know that it's okay to disagree. And that's, and I've talked to students about this a lot because, if friends or people, like students can feel like they can't share their opinion in class, but it's like, I can listen to it. We don't have to agree, but that's what college is for diversity of thought. And that's especially what the arts are for too, because then if we're not talking about it, it's still there. And then it's just gonna come out in different ways that are dangerous.
Well, I'm gonna give you some tricks if you're interested. And I know some of you, and for whatever reason, political reasons of history, aren't interested in processing. I'll tell you how you get through something that's very difficult to hear, and you need to hear it. What you listen for is more than content. Listen for, tell yourself, I'm just going to listen for rhythm. I'm just going to listen for structure. Because when people speak, if you really listen well, and you're not listening for, right or wrong, or you can't listen the way you were taught to read. And you can't listen the way that you were taught to study for an exam. All those you have to throw out the window. They will not help you. That's a certain process that got you to be here right now. But if you actually say, I'm going to listen for pictures, right? I asked you, what pictures do you recall? Pictures are in every single thing we heard today, but you only remember certain pictures. If you're trying too hard to get to what does this mean or where is this going, you'll miss the pictures. Now, some pictures come through. You like the woman with the glasses, right? Usually when pictures come through really clearly, it's either because they're very odd or because they're poetically beautiful, or because they're a part of a scene that somebody actually shapes that we could take off and put, and there's a small play, right? That's the case with the glasses. That's why I wear these glasses, right? It's like already, it's like a part of a play. And Bertolt Brecht, the German playwright, writes about this in a essay called Street Scene. He talks about how if you go outside, and you can experiment with this too, you go outside in the street and there's just been a car accident and you say, what happened? People will automatically start to act it out. They won't talk. They won't say, well, there was a Chevy that came down the street and another car came around and hit it in the fender. More than likely, they will start to actually act out what happened and even make sounds that are nonverbal sounds. The car went bam, right? Something like that. So certain things are going to leap out anyway, but if they're not leaping out, what you can listen for is rhythm, you can listen for architecture, and you can listen for pictures, just to help yourself get through it, right? Just to help yourself get through it. And let's say, for example, the woman I'm telling you about, Yasmin Miller, whose baby, Sincere, the father is Gaston, Thomas Gaston, Sincere Gaston. One thing that was so striking in that interview is that she said that when she got to the hospital, and she already had a unique way of speaking, I wasn't worried about me. She said, I wasn't trying to worry about me. I was trying to worry about my baby. And then the doctor came and said, he didn't make it. Now that's much more memorable, isn't it? Than he didn't make it. But we're taught to read and write in a way which is get to the point. Truly processing, truly listening is not about the point. It's not about the point. It's about something so much more. I wish you the best. I'm counting on all of you. I'm counting on all of you. And I hope that one of the things you'll do before your education in this institution is over is invite people to have difficult conversations with you. Because the way we are now will not last. By the time you're 30, it won't be like this. And you may as well spend the next 10 years being a change agent to get us to the next thing, and hopefully it will be better. Thank you.
Anna, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here on campus. I know so many of you, we do have your first session. If they missed it, people can go back to it. We can make that available. And in addition, we have Anna twice more. She's going to share another session with us on April 13th. That's virtual. You should immediately, if you are inspired by today and want to know more, please RSVP right away. And then she's been gracious enough, she's going to do a career conversation on April 14th with one of our alum and talk about her path, leadership, and some of the lessons she learned along the way. So we are grateful to have you here. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. If you did not RSVP, please, we want to get your name to let you know about future events. But this is really what the Sign Institute is trying to build to convene, communicate, and collaborate. So we love having you as a partnership in that. So thank you so much, Anna. Thank you, everybody.